Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunavayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. All right. So where are we now? In Mahabharata. Now, before we go into the story today, there was a question last week which I couldn't spend too much time on. And the question was about free will and predestiny, or destiny as we call it. So the question was, do we actually have free will, or is everything destined to happen the way it's meant to happen? So what is our source for this question? Our source for this question is Shastra or Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad clearly says that there are two paths for every being. One is called Shreyas, one is called Preyas. And at all given times, they will come to us knocking at our door. And it is us who can choose what to take. So whether we walk on the path of Shreyas, the path of the good, or Preyas, the path of the pleasant, is really our choice. But what happens? What happens when we choose something? Whatever we choose, whatever we surrender to, that will completely support us. Lord Krishna symbolizes dharma. When we choose dharma, dharma will support us, dharma will protect us because we chose it. When Arjuna chose Lord Krishna, of course, Lord Krishna's complete protection was on the Pandavas because Arjuna chose him. So we cannot then say that, God is partial, or that these things are just meant to happen the way they're meant to happen. Arjuna did choose him. The Pandavas did choose Bhagavan Krishna. Whenever we choose good health, we get immunity, and that immunity protects us. When we choose to exercise, that health protects us. When we tell the truth, that truth protects us and avoids us getting into any trouble. But at the same time, if we choose anger, that anger will also support us. It will make the blood pressure very high. It will make us burn inside. If we choose jealousy, that jealousy will disturb us, will make our minds very fickle. So, in a way, both are at work. We have a choice at every given moment. But once we choose something, that whole thing will support us. If we choose God, we're very lucky. We're very blessed because then we will never have to worry. If those of you who watched chapter 9 today in Tapo Gita Jayanti, those who choose Bhagavan, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham, carries your Yoga Kshema. So that is the question about free will and destiny. We do have the choice, but whatever we choose will wholeheartedly support us. Now we come back to where we are in Mahabharata. So we were at Drona Parva. And in Drona Parva, we saw here that Drona had passed. Drona was destroyed by Drishtadyumna. And this was because of Yudhishthira saying that Ashwathama was killed, when in fact it was Ashwathama the elephant, not Ashwathama his son. But this Dronacharya was very heartbroken to hear this, especially from Yudhishthira. So he drops all his weapons, and then he is ultimately defeated by Drishtadyumna. Now Ashwathama finds out about this. And when Ashwathama finds out about this, he is livid. He is really, really angry that his father had passed away. He's burning inside. And so he knows all of these divine astras because Dronacharya had taught them to him. And so he invokes this Narayana astra on the whole Pandava army. And invoking this astra has the ability or capacity to destroy that whole army. But Lord Krishna knew what they had to do to this astra. And all they had to do is throw down their weapons and surrender to the astra. Because if you throw down your weapons, the astra won't be able to harm you. So Lord Krishna advised everybody to do that and surrender. Everyone did that except Bhima. Bhima refused to surrender. He wanted to fight that Ashwathama single-handedly. So, that astra as though was coming into Bhima, and then Arjuna threw a separate astra to protect Bhima. And when, everything was cooled down, Arjuna and Krishna both went to Bhima, took him, and they made him surrender. He didn't want to surrender. They made him surrender. And they said the only way to come to this astra, to defeat this astra, is to surrender. And when they did that, all of the Pandavas were saved. And Ashwathama was so furious. Duryodhana said, throw another astra again, put another astra again. And Ashwathama said, I can only throw that once. And he later on goes to Vedavyasa and says, Bhagavan Vedavyasa, why did this astra fail? And he said, you threw it against Nara and Narayana, and they surrendered to it. What did you expect? Now, when we think about this Narayana Astra, there's a very nice meaning to this story. Narayana Astra can symbolize something unexpected in our life. Unexpected that just comes. It just comes to you out of nowhere. And what do you do with that thing? Well, you're not prepared to handle it. It just comes to you. The only thing to do at that point is surrender and accept that it has come. Because it's not something that you could have planned, you could have envisioned, you could have prepared for. It is just something completely out of the blue. And when we surrender and accept that, yes, this is happening, we will have that calmness and mental ability to deal with it. So anything unexpected that comes is like a Narayana Astra. And when that comes, let it come. Let it come to you. Surrender to it. And when you calm down, you will know how to defeat it. This concludes Drona Parva. The next Parva we're going to see is Karna Parva. Why Karna Parva? Because after Drona dies, then Ashwathama says to Duryodhana, you make Karna the commander. And so it is called Karna Parva. And so in this 16th day of war, Karna is made the commander-in-chief, and he is shining ever radiantly on the 16th day. As though, after Drona died, the Kauravas were very low, feeling very terrible. But when Karna became the commander, everyone as though had new life. That something can happen now because Karna is leading. And he, being the son of Surya, shone like the sun and went into the battlefield. And it is on this day that he started defeating everybody that he could see. And the Pandavas were worried about him. Yudhishthira had lost sleep, lots of sleep over Karna. Karna, in this day, he met Nakula in battle. He also met Sahadeva. And when Nakula came to challenge him, Karna, right away, he destroyed his bow, he destroyed his charioteer, everything. And Karna almost had him. He could completely vanquish Nakula. But he remembered his promise to Kunti Devi that he would not defeat any of the Pandavas except Arjuna, and that she would always have 5 Pandavas. So he let them go. On this day, on the 16th day, there was also a battle between Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, and Duryodhana was miserably defeated by Yudhishthira. Now, all of this is happening on the 16th day, and after this day, Duryodhana tells Karna, now tomorrow you'll have to defeat Arjuna. You'll have to go to the battlefield, you'll have to defeat him because he is really, really destroying our army. And so Karna says, yes, I can defeat him. I'm a better warrior. He has a Gandiva. I also have a royal weapon. I am strong. He is strong. But the one thing about him is he has the God of the universe driving his chariot. He has Bhagavan Krishna as his charioteer. He has a divine chariot. How am I going to defeat him? Not only that, he has Hanumanji on his flag. If I am to defeat Arjuna, I would need someone very noble, very strong to be my charioteer. Duryodhana, please ask Salya to be my charioteer. And this Salya, he is the uncle of Nakula and Sahadeva, who went to the wrong side. So Duryodhana approaches Salya, and Salya at first is very offended. It says, how can you expect me to be the charioteer of this Sutaputra? He is a son of a charioteer. How can you expect me to be a charioteer of the son of a charioteer? And he's so insulted because, Salya is a high-ranking warrior. Nobody can really defeat him. He's very, very strong. And so Duryodhana pacifies him and says, listen, I asked you because there's nobody in our army greater than Krishna except you. And Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna. Therefore, you be the charioteer of Karna. And so Salya is very moved by these words of Duryodhana, and he says, okay, I will be the charioteer. But now, meanwhile, Salya remembers his promise to Yudhishthira that he will keep insulting him and taunting him when he becomes the charioteer. So Salya remembers that promise, and that night, Karna says to Duryodhana, either I will kill Arjuna or I will be slain tomorrow in battle. And Karna remembered his whole life. He looked at his life story about all the curses that he's received, about how he had to give up his kavacha, his kundala, about how he used his shakti on Ghatotkacha. He knew that the very next day he was going to die. But he was ready for it. And he would do everything to die a great death. Because Karna, he's the one who always wanted fame. He wanted to be known throughout the world. He wanted the world to sing his praises. And so the next day was day 17 of war. Salya prepared the chariot for Karna. Salya got in, and all the while he was insulting Karna. saying that, do you think you can really defeat Arjuna while Lord Krishna is his charioteer? Do you know how strong Arjuna is? Do you know how noble and dharmic the Pandavas are? Do you know how great they are? And he said, but you don't even know anything. You always speak, but you can't really fight. And Shalya kept taunting him the whole way, as though breaking Karna. And Karna said, why are you doing this? I understand that what you're saying and it's really hurting me. Now you can stop. Just stop it. So Shalya stopped. And then what happens is Arjuna again is harassed by these Trigartas. So again, what's left of their army, he has to go fight. So Karna fights with Yudhishthira today on day 17. And it is a miserable battle where Yudhishthira is beaten badly and insulted, not once but twice. And Yudhishthira has to go to his tent to recover. And so, Yudhishthira is so insulted by this Karna. And Arjuna returned from fighting with the Trigartas. He returns and he sees that, Yudhishthira is not there. He sees Yudhishthira is not there in the battle. What do I do? And he sees Bhima is there ripping the whole army apart. And he says, let me check on Yudhishthira because I heard he got wounded. He goes to Yudhishthira's tent. Meanwhile, Yudhishthira is, recovering from his wounds. Yudhishthira sees Arjuna and he thinks that Arjuna has slain Karna. So he tells Arjuna, oh, praise you, Arjuna. You're so amazing. Tell me, how is it that you slayed Karna? What happened in battle? I want to know all about it. Tell me, tell me, tell me. And he gives this long dialogue to Arjuna. And Arjuna has his head down and says, I did not kill him yet. I went to the battlefield. I saw you weren't there. I heard you were wounded and I came to you because I wanted to check if you're okay. Oh, Yudhishthira got so angry at him that he insulted Arjuna's Gandiva. He said, fie on your Gandiva. Oh, Arjuna looked at Yudhishthira. He took out his sword. He took out his sword and he was going to go straight to Yudhishthira. Lord Krishna said, what are you doing? And Arjuna said, I took a vow. Again, these Kshatriyas and their vows. I took a vow that whoever insults my Gandiva, I will finish them. Lord Krishna says, please don't behave so hastily right now. We're in the midst of a battle. Why do you want to do this to your brother? And Arjuna said, I took a vow and I must keep it. Lord Krishna says, okay, wait. I will tell you something. In our Shastra, it is said that when you insult a wise person, especially one who is elder to you, when you insult them, that is as good as killing them. So you go to Yudhishthira and you insult him like anything. And it is said, when you use the word tvam means you. For an older person, we have, like in Hindi, how you have aap, like you would say aap, you wouldn't say tu. So in Sanskrit, tvam is like tu, that you're not using bhavan. Bhavan would be like aap. So he kept using those words tu. And in our Shastra, when you have like a noble, a wiser person in front of you, elder person in front of you, if you use that, that's like stinging them. And on top of that, Arjuna put all of the insults in the world. He said, it's because of you were here, you played that dice game, you kept quiet, you didn't say anything, and we followed you, and now we're here in this war because of you, because of your whole thing, that you want to adhere to dharma, and everything is your fault, and so many insults. Arjuna rained on Yudhishthira. And they came on Yudhishthira like bullets. And after insulting Yudhishthira so much, Arjuna takes out his sword again. Lord Krishna says, what are you doing now? He said, now I don't want to live after insulting my brother. Oh, Lord Krishna says, okay, wait, Arjuna, wait. According to our Shastra, it is said that when you praise yourself in front of someone who is so noble and so wise, that is like killing yourself. Self-praise is like suicide. So go on and praise yourself in front of Yudhishthira. Arjuna had to do this. And he said, I am the greatest warrior of the Pandavas. I vanquished all of these enemy single-handedly. It was because of me that Bhishma has fallen. It was because of me that that one has fallen. On and on and on, Arjuna went praising himself. After some time, he just stopped and he went to bow down to Yudhishthira, touched his feet and sought his blessings and said, I'm so sorry. Now, can I have your blessings to defeat Karna? And Yudhishthira says, you have my blessings, now go. And in this way, Bhagavan Krishna comes to the rescue of Arjuna yet again. Now, everybody is excited now. The battle, 17th day. Bhima was really, really wreaking havoc in this whole army. And before anything happened, Bhima and Dushasana had a terrible fight. Now, by this time, Bhima he had killed so many of the Kaurava brothers. Now, Bhima and Dushasana had a terrible duel, and everyone was just watching. And Bhima defeated Dushasana completely. Dushasana was lying on the floor. And it is here when Bhima had to fulfill his oath that hand that grabbed Draupadi's hair had to be cut off. And so he did that. And while Dushasana was even still alive, he took the oath that he had to drink the blood of Dushasana. So he does that. He cuts his chest, he drinks the blood of Dushasana, and he said, now I have avenged Draupadi's dragging of the hair. And everybody just looked at this. Like they couldn't do anything when Bhima was doing this. Bhima was too strong. And Duryodhana was crying when this happened. And Karna was just heartbroken. And so by this Dushasana being defeated, again the Kauravas were feeling very low. And then on top of that, now Karna was there being protected by his sons. His son was killed by Arjuna. Now again, he's feeling very low. Finally, it was just Karna and Arjuna. All of the Kauravas were supporting Karna. All of the Pandavas were supporting Arjuna. And they were in this battle. It was like Indra Devata and Surya Devata. And they hurled so many arrows at each other. Not only that, but both of them knew the use of divine astras. So they hurled it at each other. And they went on fighting with each other. Now, Karna didn't have his Shakti, didn't have his Kavacha, he didn't have his Kundala. But he knew this really powerful Naga Astra. And he said, if he invokes this Naga Astra, Arjuna will be killed for sure. And so he invokes that Naga Astra. And when you invoke that Astra, you have to say where to aim it. So he says, I'm aiming it on Arjuna's neck. And Salya says, don't do that. Aim it at his chest. You might miss. Karna says, no. Why? A good warrior never changes his aim. And so he aims that Naga Astra. While that Naga Astra is going towards Arjuna, all the Pandavas are shocked because this means that Arjuna would be destroyed. That Astra is too strong. And just then, what does Lord Krishna do? He makes the horses bend down. So the whole chariot sinks like this. And instead of that Astra going to Arjuna's neck, it goes to his crown and his crown falls off. And Karna just looks and says, it is this Krishna. With this Krishna, I don't think I will ever win this battle. And yet again, Bhagavan Krishna comes to Arjuna's rescue. Now, everything is happening. Again, they are both at it. They're both at each other. And Karna feels that his chariot wheel is sinking to the ground. He feels it sinking to the ground. And he remembers the curse that was there when he went to study with Parashurama. After studying, he had shot an arrow at thinking it was a deer, it was a cow. He had shot an arrow at the cow. Because of that, the Brahmana cursed him. Just like you shot this arrow at the cow, when you are with your deadliest enemy and when you are least aware, you will be killed. And he felt his chariot sinking. And he said, oh no, now my time is up. And just as when he was trying to recall the divine astras to counter Arjuna, he couldn't remember because of Parashurama's curse. Because he lied to Parashurama, and Parashurama cursed him that you wouldn't be able to remember those divine astras, how to recall them. And so Karna, with lots of, he forgot, and then with lots of effort, he was able to recall some, but he was fighting with Arjuna, but he was trying to fix his chariot. His chariot kept sinking. And so it was a very pitiable sight. This Arjuna, very strong, and this Karna trying to fight with him. And finally, Karna invoked a huge astra on Arjuna. And everyone thought that Arjuna and Krishna were vanquished. But nothing happened to them. And Karna's chariot was sunk so low. He tells Arjuna, Arjuna, don't you see that I have followed dharma and you are a dharmic warrior? Wait for me to pull my chariot back up. Wait for me to pull my chariot back up and then we will fight. You are a knower of dharma and all of my life I've been practicing dharma. Lord Krishna looked at him and said, what dharma did you practice? All in and through, you are the one who instigated the Kauravas. You're the one who kept telling them to go to war. You're the one who kept telling them that you can defeat all of the Pandavas. You insulted Draupadi. You did not stand up for her. Because of you, because of Duryodhana's dependence on you, this whole war has taken place. And you are telling us now to follow dharma? So much adharma you've done, and now you're telling us to follow dharma. So much adharma you've done, and you're telling us to follow dharma. Krishna was very, very upset at Karna. And Karna bowed his head because he knew how much adharma he had committed because of his love, misplaced love for Duryodhana. And so when his chariot was sunk, the wheel was sunk very low, Bhagavan Krishna said, Arjuna, now you shoot. And Arjuna shot that arrow and Karna was finally defeated. When Karna was finally defeated, everybody just couldn't believe it because he was an invincible warrior. Nobody could beat him. But because of Bhagavan Krishna's grace, even Karna was defeated. We pause for a moment to look at Karna's death. The one thing about the law of karma is that there is no escape from it. There's absolutely no escape. We learned before also, whatever we do, it will come back to us in some shape, in some way, in some form. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know where, but there is no escaping it. And therefore, whatever karma Karna had performed, that had to come back to him. And he knew it. And another thing we see from Karna's death is that, he was telling people, we tell people to practice virtues, to practice dharma. But it's very easy to tell people what to practice, but we don't practice it. Karna was saying, please please practice dharma now. Please practice dharma on me. Lord Krishna was very upset. And Lord Krishna knew also it was in fact Karna who broke the bow of Abhimanyu from behind. It was him. So sometimes we say, practice this virtue, practice that virtue, but we ourselves don't practice. And Karna was in that very position. So Karna was vanquished finally, and now what they had to do was they had to think about what to do the next day. So after this whole battle with Karna, Duryodhana was really, really heartbroken. He was really heartbroken. And he went to see the one person who he thought could console him. He went to see Bhishma. He went to Bhishma Pitamaha and he said, Karna now has fallen. And Bhishma said, yes, he was a Kshatriya and he died like a Kshatriya. And Duryodhana said, what do you mean? You know he's a Kshatriya? And Bhishma said, yes, I know all about his birth. Karna is not Radheya. He's not the son of Radha. He's Kaunteya. He's the son of Kunti. And in fact, he's the eldest Pandava. And he knew it. But yet he fought because of his love for you. And Duryodhana was just so heartbroken at what Karna did for him. Imagine that kind of sacrifice where you sacrifice your family. You sacrifice the advice of Lord Krishna for your friend. And he was so much in pain that he said, I'm ready to die. I don't want anything anymore. And he said, I just want to be with my friend Karna, Radheya. So he went back. Now they all went back to the Kaurava tent and they had to decide what to do for this day, the very next day of war. The very next day of war, they had to anoint a new king, or commander rather, and that commander was going to be Salya. So now we move into Salya Parva, the 18th day of war. Salya was made commander of the army. And Kripacharya, and even before Ashwatthama had told Duryodhana, stop this war. Stop it. It's getting too much. And Yudhishthira wants peace. He doesn't want to fight. And Bhagavan Krishna is for peace. Stop it. Duryodhana said, I cannot stop it now. I cannot stop it now. It's too late. Do you really think they're going to forgive us for every wrong thing that we've done? We've poisoned Bhima. We've sent them to the palace of wax. We've insulted Draupadi. We've killed Abhimanyu. So many things we've done. I don't know if they'll ever forgive us. I cannot stop the war now. And I also, as a king, cannot be living under somebody. For so many years, I've been independent. I cannot be under the Pandavas. And so, they had to fight. So on this 18th day of war, now the problem was this Salya is too strong. He's one of the strongest warriors ever. And they all look at Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna says, today, Yudhishthira, you will have to defeat Salya. He is too strong. But what you have, Yudhishthira, is you have the power of dharma. With this power of dharma, you are the only one who can defeat Salya. Nobody else. And so it is in this day of the battlefield that Salya and Yudhishthira fight this tremendous duel. And Yudhishthira, finally, he throws a javelin, his javelin at Salya, and he vanquishes him for good. And it is also on this day that Nakula defeats Uluka. He defeats Uluka, the son of Shakuni, and Sahadeva himself defeats Shakuni. And the Kaurava army is completely crushed. From those 11 huge Akshohinis, only 4 people remained. Those 4 people were Duryodhana, Kripacharya, Kritavarma, and Ashwatthama. Only these 4 people remained. And in the Pandava army, they still had about 200 chariots remaining. They still had about hundreds of people remaining. But this Kaurava army was completely crushed. Completely crushed. And so now, Yudhishthira is finally at peace and at ease that this Kaurava army is crushed. Meanwhile, Duryodhana And these three Kauravas, they go out. They go and escape. Where does Duryodhana go? Duryodhana goes to this Dvaipayana lake, and he has the power of illusion that he can hide himself in the lake, and he just remains at rest. He is so tired, so wounded. He brings his mace with him, his gada. He's so tired, he's so wounded that he stays in this lake. And Kripacharya, Kritavarman, Ashwathama managed to find where he is, and they ask him, what are you doing? Why don't we fight? Let's fight. Let's be warriors. He said, please just let me rest. Please let me just be rejuvenated. Then I'm ready to fight. He just said, I just need some time to breathe because he was wounded. And so the three of them went away and they left Duryodhana. Now, meanwhile, the Pandavas had sent spies all over to find out where this Duryodhana is, because they need to know where he is, because he also has to be completely vanquished. The whole Kaurava army has to be vanquished. And it's just so happened that some people had seen those three Kauravas interacting with Duryodhana, and they went and they told Bhima, Duryodhana is in this lake. So Duryodhana is in this lake, and Yudhishthira with the Pandavas, with a few others, they go into this lake. And they say, Duryodhana, come out. Don't be a coward. Yudhishthira yells at him and says, stop being a coward. You come out and fight. And Duryodhana says, I'm not a coward. I will fight. I just wanted to come and rest, but I will fight. I will fight with all of you. And Yudhishthira says, not like that. We will abide by dharma. And everyone's looking at Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira says, you pick any one of us and you pick your weapon and you fight. Now Bhagavan Krishna is so upset, because Duryodhana, before that, Duryodhana also said, you can have the kingdom, you can have everything you want. It's fine, you can take it. But if you want to fight, I'll fight. And so, but Yudhishthira says, yeah, let's fight. And so Bhagavan Krishna was a little bit upset because you already had him there. You already had him. He said, if you want, take everything now. I'm done. I'm over it. But if you want to fight, we'll fight. So now, and this Duryodhana has been practicing this maze, this gada, for the past 13 years. So you can just imagine how dexterous he is with this gada. And he was trained by Balarama. And he used to practice with this metal statue of Bhima. He used to practice with his metal statue of Bhima every day. So Bhagavan Krishna said, this is going to be very hard. And Yudhishthira said, anyway, you pick any one of us. Meanwhile, Bhima told Bhagavan Krishna, don't worry, I'll tell him, I'll fight with him. So Bhima says, I'll challenge you, Duryodhana. And Duryodhana said, perfect. I think you are the most equipped to challenge me, but we all know I'm better than you in the maze. And so they get into this Gada Yuddha. Gada Yuddha means this fight with the mace. Now, before they get into this Gada Yuddha, Balarama comes in the picture, because Balarama hears that there is this war taking place, Gada Yuddha. He wants to watch this duel because both are his students, Duryodhana and Bhima. Although he has a liking, he favors Duryodhana. And this Balarama did not want to fight in the war. There were two warriors who did not fight in the war. One was Balarama, one was Rukmini's brother. Balarama did not want to fight because he always favored Duryodhana. But his brother Krishna was going in the Pandava side. So he knew that there's no way the Kauravas were going to win, and he did not want to watch that. So he went on Tirtha Yatra. He said, I'm not watching this. And this Rukmi was one other warrior that was very proud. He went to the Pandavas to offer his help, but he was very proud. So the Pandavas refused him. Then he went to the Kauravas side. But Duryodhana said, if the Pandavas refused you, why should we take you? So they refused him. So it is said these two did not take part in the war. But this Balarama finished his Tirtha Yatra. So he wanted to watch this Gada Yuddha. And so it was there, Bhima and Duryodhana with the Gada. And they went on and on fighting with each other. Bhima was very strong, but Duryodhana was very dexterous. He had that skill, that ability. Both of them fell several times, and Yudhishthira was just watching this, saying, I don't know how we are going to win. I don't know how we're going to win. Because again, if Duryodhana wins, that's it. And so Arjuna looks at Krishna and says, what do we do? How do we win? Bhagavan Krishna says, do you remember? Do you remember way back when Draupadi was insulted? Duryodhana showed Draupadi his thigh, and Bhima swore, he took a vow that he will destroy the thighs of Duryodhana, and Arjuna got it immediately. And now, the rules of Gada is that you're not supposed to hit below the waist. But when Bhima looked at Arjuna, Arjuna looked at Bhima and he pointed to the thigh. And so Bhima, one of those hits where he's pretending to hit at a chest, he hits Duryodhana at the thighs, and Duryodhana falls down and never to get back up again. He's still alive, but he has completely fallen down. He cannot get back up. Duryodhana was furious. Balarama was so furious. How can you do that? Saying, Bhima, you know the rules of war. How can you do this? And Duryodhana was also furious, saying, how can you all do this to me? You know the rules of fighting. Bhagavan Krishna said, don't talk about dharma now. Look at every single thing that all of you did to the Pandavas. So many things you have done. This was the way for you to go. It was the vow that Bhima took, and it had to be fulfilled. And so Duryodhana was just, down in the dumps. And the Pandavas were finally so thrilled. Bhagavan Krishna was there. They were thrilled. Bhagavan Krishna, he calmed Balarama down, because if Balarama gets mad, that's it. So he calmed Balarama down. He said, okay, just calm down. We had to have it this way. This is what was meant to happen. And Balarama left, and Lord Krishna and the Pandavas were there, and they had victory, finally. Or so it seemed. And so Duryodhana was left there to die. And the Pandavas, with Lord Krishna, they went to Lord Krishna said, we have to sleep in the Kaurava camp tonight. We have to sleep in the Kaurava camp because that's a custom. When you defeat somebody, you sleep in their camp, in their tents. We will go and sleep there. So they all went. Now, what happens is Ashwatthama and Kripacharya and Kritavarma, they see this pitiable condition of Duryodhana, and they inquire what happened. And Duryodhana said that he was struck in the thigh. He was struck below the waist in the thigh. And Ashwatthama, Kripacharya, Kritavarma were furious. And Ashwatthama said, no matter what happens, I will avenge this. I will make sure that the Pandavas do not survive. Ashwatthama speaks like this. And Duryodhana is very happy. He says, okay, bless you, tathastu, and he coronates Ashwatthama. He said, you be the commander of the army. Let the war still go on. And so now Duryodhana is down. Just these three are there. And meanwhile, the three of them, it's night time already. They're under a tree and they are resting. So they're resting there. And Kritavarma, Kripacharya are sleeping. And now we enter into Salya Parva has completed. We enter into Sauptika Parva. Sauptika Parva. And you will see why. Ashwatthama cannot sleep. He cannot sleep because he is so upset by all of these things that have happened. Especially the death of his father is still ringing in his mind. And he looks up at the forest and he sees there's a nest of crows. He sees a nest of crows and they're nicely sleeping, so peaceful. Then he sees an owl come to that nest of crows, pecking at them. And he kills all of the crows. And the owl leaves. And Ashwatthama just gets an idea in his mind and says, we will have to get to the Pandavas, or those who are in the side of the Pandavas, while they are asleep. And this is the most heinous act in the whole of Mahabharata. It is nightfall, and of course the Pandavas, Bhagavan Krishna and Satyaki have slept in the Kaurava tent, but in the Pandava tent we have Drishtadyumna, we have Shikhandi, we have Uttamojas, we have the Upapandavas, the 5 sons of Draupadi. Such noble people are there, and they are sleeping. And Ashwatthama tells Kripacharya and Kritavarma, this is what we should do. And they try to dissuade him. They try to dissuade him and say, let's not do it. This is completely wrong. You're completely going out of whack. He says, no, we will do it. And Ashwatthama says, I will perform the slaughter. You can guard the tent. And so Ashwatthama goes at night when anyone least expects it, when people are not with their weapons or anything, and he kills everyone in that tent. And they also set fire to it. There was only one survivor, and that one survivor immediately went to the Pandavas and told them what Ashwatthama had done. And oh my gosh, the Pandavas were livid. They couldn't believe that Ashwatthama had done something like this. Ashwatthama, the son of their Guru Drona, how could he have even thought about this? And they were so upset. They went to see what happened. Bhima couldn't control his anger. He couldn't control his anger. He went right after Ashwatthama. And Yudhishthira told Arjuna, and Arjuna and Krishna, they went right after Bhima because Ashwatthama is too strong, you see. Ashwatthama knows so many of these astras. And on top of that, he has this special jewel that keeps him immune from everything. And so they said, this Bhima won't be able to defeat him. They will have to go. And so they go to that Ashwatthama to find where he is. And he is hiding behind Vyasa. And they go to Ashwatthama and they're so upset with him. And this Ashwatthama says, he's so angry. He has this special weapon called the Brahmashirsha. He invokes this astra and he says, may this world be Pandava-less. May this world be without Pandavas. And Arjuna, luckily, he knew that astra. He also invoked that astra. So both those astras clashed and all darkness and gloom clouded the whole entire world, that the rishis were begging them. Narad Rishi, Vedavyasa Rishi said, please recall your astras, take them back. You are invoking gloom in the whole entire world. And Arjuna said, I can recall my astra, I can get it back, but because only those who are pure, who've done tapasya, you can take your astra back. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So he was able to do it, but Ashwatthama wasn't able to do it. He wasn't able to do it. And Bhagavan Krishna says, you please surrender now. You please stop this now. Ashwatthama said, I cannot take back this astra. So Ashwatthama said, okay, if the Pandavas are meant to live, then may anyone who is a Pandava in the womb, may they be destroyed by this astra. Anyone who has a Pandava in the womb. And Lord Krishna was so upset at him. was so upset because that meant Abhimanyu's son, Abhimanyu's wife Uttara, was pregnant. And he invoked that astra to destroy that son of Abhimanyu. And Lord Krishna said, I promise you that that son of Abhimanyu, despite your astra, will live. And they made him surrender his gem, because when Draupadi found out about all of this, she was very upset at Ashwatthama. She said, you bring his gem and put it in the crown of Yudhishthira. And so he had to surrender his gem. They took his gem, they brought it to Yudhishthira, and it is said that Lord Krishna said, you will roam this world for years and years together, because he is a Chiranjeevi, and you shall see all sadness and gloom. You will never see happiness because of what you did. What you did is the most terrible act, Ashwatthama. So Ashwatthama was believed to roam the world after that in total gloom and in total darkness. Meanwhile, the Pandavas suffered so much distress. When Draupadi saw what happened, imagine all her 5 sons and her brothers all gone in one shot. She couldn't take it. She was just really broken down. And so this is called Sauptika Parva, because it is meant where there was supta, means sleeping. So it was the murder of those who were sleeping. Sauptika Parva. Now, how do the Pandavas recover from something like this? How do they move on with their lives? How do they get the strength to actually come back up? That we will see next week in the next Parva. Okay, so today we will stop here. I will say the closing prayer so that it's easier for the recording. And then I see some questions here on chat, so I will answer them. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.